What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Hey, before you start the episode, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. You want to make a comment? Go for it. It's America. If you catch me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit me with those 5 stars. I appreciate the support. Let's start the show. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back to Beyond the Frequency 369. I'm your host, Cesar Pagan, and this is going to be part 2 of the interview with Rob Freeman and Nikki. If you found the conversation in part 1 fascinating, then wait for part 2. Let's not make you wait. Let's go to the show.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about that, Cesar, about deaf people. You can get deaf people to hear with this ability also.
Talk to me about that, Robert.
Yeah. Now, that's for the future. And I've heard about this many times anecdotally. And I've had my own experience also. In the same way with Mindsight, that you can, we want our Mindsight to appear as if it's coming from our face, third eye, whatever. But your Mindsight can come from any place in your body. I had an experience where it came from my feet. When I was seeing the room, I thought, and I was right here at the couch with my feet on the footstool. And Wendy was holding up things and I was seeing them, but I was also looking over to the fireplace here on the other side of my room. And I thought, wait a minute, that angle that I'm seeing the fireplace on does not match with here at my eyes. And I thought, where am I seeing that from? I lifted my mask and I thought, oh my God. I got up and I looked from the footstool where my feet were. And that was the exact angle that I was seeing the fireplace at. So it can go anywhere. Okay. So in the same way that your Mindsight can go anywhere if you want it to, and it overlaps with remote viewing, so you can have it go 1,000 miles away and see in the room if you want. But what's most practical? It's being able to see in front of you, especially if you're a blind person. You need the same as what your normal eyes would be. But your hearing can do the same thing. In other words, you hear with your physical ears, but they haven't even coined the term yet. But it's mind hearing or mind.
Let's do it.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, mind hear. I love it. Mindsight, mind hearing.
Let's invent it right here, right now. But I myself had an experience where my partner was in the bathroom in the ensuite, and I was half awake, and he's Spanish speaking, and so before work he likes to practice in the bathroom and in the shower what he's going to say at work when he gets asked. They have a daily video where everybody has to say what they were doing. So he has to say it in English, right? English is his second language. And he was practicing what he was going to say. What did you do yesterday? Okay. I heard everything as if I was right beside him. I could not believe what I was hearing. Like he was whispering it so not to wake me up. And I was just listening away as if I was right beside him.
So you put the intention to see if you can hear.
Well, I didn't even do that. Like I was in that in-between state. I still had my eyes closed. So I was in the hypnagogic state, which is where this works, by the way. And I had woken up. He'd already gotten up. I had woken up, but I never opened my eyes. And I was in that dreamy state. And he was whispering away, but somehow spontaneously, my ear sight or mind hearing or whatever you want to call it, mind listening went right into the bathroom right next to him. And I heard everything he said, and it was loud. And it was like he was talking right into my ear, like right next to me. So that told me this is possible. Deaf people will be able to hear in the future.
Let's go. Let's go. I love that. Nikki, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, not necessarily about that, but just about Rob. Rob's too modest and would never say this, but his heart is so big, and I'm gonna get emotional about this because, that he wants people to go out and share this news. Like, and we have two of our students, Trish and John, are getting together to help other blind people get exposed to this and looking for ways to raise money to send these non-sighted people to these seminars and develop things to help the other blind people because they were so changed by this seminar. And Rob is so encouraging. He's like, everyone go out and share, go out and teach. And I mean, that's huge because in an industry where everybody's got to make money, and I get it, but in an industry where everything is so, monetarily based, Rob is such a giver. Like he's so selfless. It's touching and amazing to me.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. I sense that, and I think that's why I got almost got a little emotional earlier and stuff. I think we all, no matter where we're at and everything, I'm down here in Florida. Okay, so I can feel both of your frequencies just like that. Like we're vibing here, So it's a beautiful thing, and it's one of those things that's kind of like it's unspoken. Like you just have that knowing. And Rob, I wanted to ask you regarding that mind hearing.
Yeah.
Were you in the process of practicing this, or is this something that just happened and you're like, wait a minute, that's new? Is that how that worked?
Yeah, I had heard about it
Okay.
through various other trainers that it's possible that anecdotally, they'd run into it. And I guess, so you might say maybe somewhere in my right brain, things were lighting up because, if you can teach the blind to see, why can't you teach the deaf to hear? And so maybe that was roaming around in my right brain, but my right brain gave it to me. It opened up spontaneously for me. Now, in one of our seminars, we had a deaf person that was going to come, and she wears a cochlear implant. And we told her that, because this is experimental, you can come for free. And we will experiment with this with the other folks, right? And see if we can open up your hearing. Now, unfortunately, she got sick, wasn't able to come, but she might come in a future seminar also. But, if there's folks out there who are deaf and they want to come to one of the seminars for free, they will have to pay for their accommodation, their materials, their flight, and their transportation and their food. But the actual seminar would be free because this is experimental. And I do not want to take their money if they cannot get benefit out of this. But let's put our heads together. Let's put our hearts together and let's see if we can open up their mind hearing. I mean, I've experienced it myself. It's real, and there's no reason they can't do it. And especially with the supportive folks around them at the seminar who are, in a sense, lifting them up and holding them. And we all want this for them. It's almost like, successionary prayers or something when you pray for other people and there's results. And it's like, we have that intention, all of us in the group, that we want this person to hear. They come with the same intention. We have the intention. Let's let it open up. And I believe it will. In the same way that Mindsight opens up and seeing the room in real time opens up, we can, try to open up their innate God-given ability to hear without ears. It's
Innate God-given ability. I love that because, and yeah, if we're starting to see how powerful one person is. So when you're in a group setting with powerful people, all resonating under the same frequency with the same intention, I mean, that grows, what's that big tall tree, a redwood or something, that grows, I don't even know where I was going with that, but that's powerful. And I'm so excited about that. Even just the thought that you are even offering that. And I like the fact that you mentioned that you're willing to teach something that it's not just that you heard about it, but you've also experienced it with the mind hearing deal. So that's always a great start, right? Cause you're like, hey, I've experienced this, so I know it's possible, man, that's, what? I have like a sleeping mask in my closet. Can I give it a shot and just try to close my eyes
Well,
and then see if you?
Why not?
Why not? Right? Hey, Ty. All right. We're gonna give this a shot. So I'm not promising. So here's my sleeping mask. I mean, like, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do that.
And you're showing
Right.
that you can't see through it. You're holding it up to the
Yeah, I can't see through it. This is all for comfort, right? So I didn't know why I'm doing this, but I guess it's just to give it a shot.
and
Dang,
you
wait a
know,
minute.
you
Yeah,
are in the right brain. Yeah, you got to take your hat off or put it on underneath.
well, if I take off my hat, all my long hair falls out, and then I gotta put it back. I got long hair. You can't tell. You think I'm military cut. All right, so let's see here. All right, so let's try this out. Hang tight. Well, maybe I'll just do this way. All right, how's that look? I know I look completely weird, but I can't see anything right now.
Okay. So
Okay,
let's
so
get started
yeah.
here.
Yeah, and I'm also gonna kind of look a little bit. Well, I don't know if I should look down so people don't think I'm looking straight ahead. I don't know. Does it look pretty good? Like I'm.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a shot. Yeah.
Okay. So, Cesar, I want you to just get relaxed and just even say to yourself, I really don't care whether this works or not. And
I really don't care.
if
Yeah.
you can feel that and say, you know what, I don't care. I know I'm on a podcast, but who cares? It doesn't matter. And just laugh and smile, even make silly faces. Okay. And there's two colors to choose from. There's going to be pink, a bright pink, and a bright yellow. And I'm going to just start and hold one of those two up in the screen. And what I want you to do is just look for a very vague haze, almost like a fog of color. And if you could see, now don't concentrate, just let it appear as if you're going to a window and looking out and you say, oh, it's kind of foggy outside. And that fog, I can see this fog and it has a very vague color to it. What color would you say of those two that might be in a very light haze in your visual field?
Okay. Well, just to let folks know that as you were first introducing that there's two colors, before you said the second color, I had already saw a yellow, so I was kind of happy that you mentioned that because I was like, cool, that's one of my two options. Right now, I'm gonna say I'm seeing yellow, because that's what I would.
You're coming to me by remote viewing and you're looking under my desk because yellow is the color that's under my desk. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is set the intention because you can remote view. I want you to set the intention to see what's in your visual field. I'm going to shuffle these two colors up. I'm going to shuffle them under the table and it could be yellow or pink. It's going to be random. Okay. You tell me when to stop. Okay. The color that was in my hand when you said stop, I'm going to raise to the screen. It could be either one of the colors, yellow or pink.
Man, see, now I'm questioning myself. Okay, I'm just gonna say that I believe you stopped at pink.
Okay, it's the other color. In both cases, it was the other color. Now, I got to tell you, Cesar, at the Mindsight intuitive level, your Mindsight will sometimes play a game. It will give the opposite color every time that the person asks for. That is a game we see over and over again, but just for fun, I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, I'm going to shuffle. And remember, take the attitude you just don't care.
Don't care.
Go empty. Let everything go. Like no judgment, no criticism, not even any trying. Okay, just pretend you're going over to your window. I'm going to keep shuffling, and you open the drapes at the same time that I hold the color up. And you look out, and what is that color of the fog? Very hazy, faint color that you see. Have the intention now to see what's on your screen in front of you, not under my desk.
Okay, look at what's in front. Go to what's on the camera there.
No intellectual. Right. Go empty. Look at your screen and what's the color? I'm shaking it so you can see some motion.
Yeah.
You can hear it. What is that color between the yellow and the pink?
Geez, I'm seeing a color right now, but I'm questioning it. I'm just gonna say pink again.
Okay. The pink is the one that's under the desk. Every single time you are giving the opposite color, Cesar.
Yeah.
So
it's weird.
You've connected to that little boy inside you, okay, and having fun, and you're playing the opposite game. Every single time you said the other color. What are the chances of that? Okay. There you go.
See on my hair?
Here's that hair. Okay. So you will see when you play back the video that you gave the opposite color 3 times in a row.
3 times in a row. Man, it's like I was seeing the act. I was seeing the color that was, and then I would immediately switch and be like, yeah, you want to go with this one. And that's why I was giving the opposite one. So, but that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
That's
That was kind of
the
cool.
left brain jumping in because it doesn't like what the right brain does.
Man, it's like trying to control it, right?
Yeah, you gotta get out of the left brain. But I can tell you,
Yeah.
what are the chances that you would get the other color 3 times in a row? That's what you did.
Oh, I see what it is. So it's like don't look at it as 3 failed attempts, just 3 alternative successful.
Yeah, because your mindset was from the game. You're connected to that little guy inside you that's still there.
Yeah.
And he
It
wants
was always trying to tell me, pick the other one, pick the other one, pick the other one. So then I would convince myself that I'm not, I'm not succeeding or something like that.
Yeah, because I've had it over and over again where people at the intuitive level, I'll hold up a card and they will get one different every time. Like I will hold up the X and they will get UVW. They'll say W or they'll say XY. They'll say Y. And every time they will be out by one letter. I'll hold up the C and they'll say B. Okay. Or they'll say D. And it'll go on like this for 4 times in a row. And I'll say, okay, have the intention. You can actually tell me what's on your screen. Because the Mindsight is like its own little personality. It's in your right brain and it's connected to that little boy who is spontaneous, who loves to have fun. Okay. And play little games. So we celebrate it, especially when there is a pattern that comes out, just like what happened here, right live in this podcast.
It was still doing it. Rob, I love the way you put all that together because without that kind of instruction or guidance, you yourself will immediately just, okay, I'm done with this. Like it's not going anywhere. But the fact that you keep even, I'm going to use the word, fail, even as if you failed in some sense, you actually reword that, reconstruct that to just say, no, that failure is still a success. And here's why. And you're helping, like in this case, myself, reprogram the way I'm thinking about it. So every time that moving forward, every time that I don't get it right on time, I'm still going to say, yeah, but I was still getting it in a different way. I just got to refocus it a little bit more to get it on the spot. So, right, Nikki, what do you think?
And this is why Rob's seminars are so amazing.
Yeah,
Rob,
I see.
tell us about how successful the last seminar was.
Yeah, go
I think
ahead.
you should say.
Yeah, we had 27. So we had 23 out of 27 seeing the room in real time by the end of the 6 days.
Congrats. Wow, that's impressive. Is that the highest that you've gotten in a seminar?
Yeah, the first one, we only had 7 people. That was last year. And we only had 2. So, 2 out of 7 is like 1/4 or something. And then the next one, we had 13 people. We had 8. Okay. And then this last one, we had 27 people. I wanted to get it above 80%. And so that was roughly 85%. And, we had Alex Steffen came to the seminar. He's a hypnotherapist and he was able to also help get everybody in a very relaxed state.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Okay. And it's really all about doing things that are the opposite of school.
Yeah, absolutely.
For example,
Absolutely.
you do not want anybody concentrating. You want people daydreaming. Like, look out the window. Don't even pay attention to what I'm saying. Because,
Yawning.
yeah, you can whisper to your neighbor if you want, right? Don't be too disruptive, but just don't pay attention to me. Like, it's the opposite of school where, in school, you've got to sit up, pay attention to everything she's writing on the board. I remember as a little boy, I was more interested in looking out the window. And I was daydreaming, and the teacher would say, Robert, come back to the class, right?
Yeah.
But here, I get people to do the opposite of school, like slouch in your seat, laugh, don't pay attention to me, just, go empty, don't concentrate, just hear me as if I'm off in the distance, let yourself daydream, and all of those things will help connect it to your right brain, where your Mindsight is. The Mindsight that every single person has, every single person can connect to it.
I love all that. And it made me think of something. So like when a baby is learning and experiencing the world, they don't know all the rules that we know. They don't know not to put things in their mouth or to, I don't know, crawl off the counter and just fall and it's gonna hurt, things like that. Because I have this understanding that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So if this spiritual being just now became, a third dense, corporeal body, whatever, they don't know the rules. So they're experiencing life, and then they get to their school age and they start going into school. And now school is like saying, all right, all that kid stuff, all that, childish stuff that you were doing, put that off to the side. Here's how you have to think about stuff logically in this order. It makes sense this, and if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist, things like that. So it's wild, and there's very few parents out there that actually encourage their children. Like if their children are hearing things or seeing things, instead of telling them to like, hey, that's silly, shut it off, or that goes against our religion and stuff, they encourage them, say, hey, yeah, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? Talk to me about those things. And then, that's kind of like their pre-awakening and everything. So I just thought about that as you were just explaining that babies they don't follow the rules that we do. And when they start following the rules that we do, that cuteness kind of goes away,
Yeah, and you mentioned something too. I just want to use this sort of disclaimer. People have said, well, all these things that you can do, aren't you afraid that people could use them for nefarious purposes? Well, yes. Now, that goes the same with every worldly ability we have. For example,
Facts.
you could just go and take a gun and shoot and kill somebody. You don't do it, but you have the ability to do that, and you could make a choice to do that. Now, you will be thrown in jail for the rest of your life if you do that. So I would say with all these abilities, it's the same thing, Cesar. I encourage everybody that as you open these abilities back up that we all have, again, use them for good purposes. Like, think about it. Don't go down the road of darkness and use them for evil purposes. You can, just like you can use any ability. You could take your hands where you could mold something very beautiful and sell it for a lot of money and it's artwork and people come and view it. Or you could use those same hands to strangle somebody and kill them. So it is the very same with all these abilities. People should really use them for good and benevolent purposes. It's no different than the abilities that you already use and have in the worldly ways. Do not do anything different with these abilities. Think before whatever path you decide to go down on with these abilities, use the same filter that you would use in your normal day-to-day worldly abilities. Like, you choose how you speak to somebody. You might think certain things, but you say, well, I'm not going to say that because that's going to be mean. It's going to hurt that person. And this person is my friend, or whatever. So, I would encourage everybody, as these things open up, be sure to use them in a, good, beneficial, and benevolent way to help other people, to help yourself, and to help other people in a good way. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Nikki, let me ask you this, because I know you mentioned that you do a lot of different modalities. Do you feel that in the last, I don't know, last 3 years, are a lot more people waking up and coming into remembering these innate abilities?
Yeah, I've seen a real surge in that, like I would say over the past 5 years, honestly, and people of all ages just suddenly recognizing the human potential that we all have, right? And not being afraid of it and not treating it like it's, witchcraft, for lack of a better word, but, not treating it like it's something to be feared, but something to be embraced. It's just something that we've all forgotten we can do. That with that comes the energy. For instance, Rob's seminar, part of why it's so great is because you have that big group energy of like-minded people that are together, lifting one another up, and that's happening in the world at large. So all of these people's energy is just kind of merging together, and we're all helping each other to go higher and to achieve more. And I think there's also more of a collaboration amongst people than there ever was. It's not so much people being out for themselves anymore, but I can do this. Let me show you how to do it. Let me gift you with the knowledge of your own incredible power. Let me wake this up in you. And that's what we see in Rob's seminars. Like, people are so excited when somebody else gets it. Like, the minute a new person in the class, it's like, wow, it's almost like none of us have ever seen it before because we're
I
so
love
excited.
that. I love
Yeah.
that. And that's a great thought, because you look at these mystic schools, these secret societies that, they learn something, but it's only celebrated within that secret organization, and they want to keep it a secret. But then when you have folks like yourself, you have the opposite feeling. Like, you see something amazing and you want to scream it off the top of your lungs and off of the highest mountain. Like, everybody, we can do this. Nikki, why do you think those are two different mindsets, between these secret societies and then, I don't know what we call this, like a spiritual grouping? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. I think that sometimes human nature, and when I say human nature, I really mean human nature, not spiritual nature, because we're all spiritual creatures having a human experience, right?
Yeah.
But some of us are more sunk in that human experience than in our spiritual nature. Those people are the people that want to do the secrecy, and let's make this we have our special little group and we can feel secretly better than all the other people because we have this special thing. But when you really tap into your divine spiritual nature, you want to share it. You want
It's
to
love.
share it, yes, because we're all the same. We're all connected, and the more we can help one another, the more we help ourselves. It just flows in this great big circle, and it's so joyful, and it's just such a great experience to learn from someone like Rob, and then to be able to freely give that to someone else and to help other people achieve what has changed my life. Like, I know how I feel. Like, when I came back from that seminar, and again, I'm an old pro at these seminars, I told my husband, I'm like, I've never experienced anything like this. And it's not just about what I can do now. It's about the connections I made there. It's about experiencing these same people. These people, everybody in that seminar was an outstanding, energetic being. Like, every single one. I've never been to a seminar where there weren't some that you were like, not sure about you. This was it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah. And Cesar too, each person experienced something different in the way that they opened up. And, it's very rewarding and moving for me to see that. And it's rewarding and moving, as Nikki says, for all the other participants when another participant opens. But I also want to say that, some people will get very emotional when they open. We saw that, Nikki. And other people will have a sense of deja vu. In other words, it's like, I've done this before. And I've had that because it almost took me right back to myself as a little boy. And I had almost like scenes flashing in my memory where I was doing this. It really felt like deja vu for me. And I've had people say the same thing where they felt like they've done this before. And they're kind of almost scanning their memories where they actually were doing it before when they were a kid.
It's like stepping back into a moment of remembrance, again, they, especially again, talking about as a kid, we come in as a spiritual being and everything. So we know all this stuff. One of my mission statements on my website is, my goal for this podcast and continue talking about these esoteric, knowledge and whatnot and spirituality is to help people remember who they are before the world convinces them otherwise, right? And I also have an understanding that we are actually here to experience what we're not. All right. Let's think about that for a second, because I do believe that we are, again, first spiritual beings. So we are omnipotent. We are godlike, if you will. And then we come here to have the full experience. We have to forget that we are all of this. We have to be able to experience death, sorrow, pain, manipulation, all these things that we are not, to then want to then experience it. And then when we expire, go back to have that full circle understanding of who we are.
Yep.
So by you guys doing this here in the physical, you're just helping out everybody remember who they are before the world convinces them otherwise. And I love all this. And this is why this all connects and resonates with my podcast. I'm into the whole Egyptian stuff, Eye of Horus, Anubis, I read ancient tablets, cuneiform, all that good stuff. So I'm into all the ancient mystic schools, the real schools before religions and societies, all that stuff where they were doing this, like how you say in your class, Rob, is we just do this. And then at some point things change. And then as generations started coming around, we just started to bury because then we started to understand how powerful this is, So I'm just so glad that you guys are contributing and bringing people back, especially with this whole people in this world of esoteric are now talking about the shift of frequencies and earth and everything. You guys are just doing your part in that side, spiritualized, but physically, the whole blind thing and the deaf, the mind hearing, the Mindsight. My gosh, like that is. I want to ask you, Rob, how soon, if you were to pick a 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years from now, how soon would you like to see both the Mindsight and the mind hearing being a thing being taught in one class, in one session, if you will?
Yeah, I could see it next year in 2026 here.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah, I could see it in 1 year's time because we're doing many seminars, it's building, and it really, we're going to reach that sort of level where, okay, let's do it. Like you can't do it overnight. We're doing the seminars right now, but the sort of community we're developing with every single seminar workshop will get us to a point where, okay, I will be able to take the risk and then open up a school, and it will be known widely enough. Like, not the least is through podcasts like what we're doing right now, and speaking about it to other people. I believe in a year from now, we will be able to have that school.
That's beautiful. And Nikki, as a student, where would you like to see this go in the next couple of years?
Gosh, I'm with Rob on this. Anything I can do to support his efforts, I would absolutely do. Like his heart is such in the right place. He is doing these things for all the right reasons. And he brings so much to the table. I just want to help him. Whatever he needs me to do, I would absolutely do if it's within my capabilities. And I don't say that lightly because, I'm not a guru follower or anything like that. But really, this is one of the few things that I've attended that I really feel is at the right place at the right time, being done for the right reason. And it'll change lives. And I want to be a part of that.
And Nikki is a part of it, Cesar, because Nikki is coming to the next seminar right here, May 4th to 9th in London, Ontario, Vision Without Eyes. She's going to be here as one of the demonstrators.
Super exciting. No pressure, Nikki. All right. You just like Rob was telling me, just do it.
Right.
You already, just do it and everything. I want to make sure also for some folks that I feel like my intuition is telling me that some folks are thinking about this question. So I got to ask you guys, and I hope you don't mind. Rob, I'll ask you first and then Nikki. Are you religious or spiritual? Or are they the same thing? Or where do you fall into all that?
Yeah, myself, I was, raised in the Anglican Church. It's big in Canada and England and so on. It's very much like the Catholic Church or the United Church or whatever. And I got away from that. About 25 years ago, I was kind of struck down with cancer. At the time, they gave me a 5%, less than a 5% chance of survival. And I had just sold my company, London Telecom, for a lot of money. But what good is money if you're going to die? And you could die literally weeks later. Like I got the diagnosis 3 weeks after I sold my company.
Interesting.
So I had the money and the time to go around the world. And I did for 3 years. And I learned about everything. I met with healers. I met with seers. I met with scientists, doctors. Like, how am I going to save my life? I had 2 little boys at home. And I had a wife who was going through an illness of her own. And I hate to say it, but she, had one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. And intuitively, I didn't think she was going to survive. And ultimately, she didn't. And, I was very sad when that happened. But I knew between the 2 of us, one of us had to live and be there for our boys. And I thought, I know it's not going to be her. And so I was prepared to spend every last nickel that I earned. And I mean, I made millions from the sale of my company. And I told my dad, I said, I will spend every last nickel to save my life here so that I can be there for my boys. And I said, if I have to live in the bad part of town in a, dirty apartment above a store that's, $150 a month and eat crap dinner, I will do that. I will go to the slopes of Tibet, wear those clothes that they wear if that's what I have to do. So I literally did all those things and I was able to save my life. And I still help people today when they contact me who are going through cancer. Okay, I have access to medicines that you can't get here in Canada. But through that process, I became spiritual. Now, I had death experiences where I was within minutes of dying. Okay. And I had miracles happen to me. I shouldn't be here. I even had, I picked up in one of the treatments, a Staph aureus blood infection, but the hospital didn't know what it was. And, it was literally 4 days before they could give me medicine for it. And that's when I had my out of body experience or near death experience, I guess you'd say. But finally they gave me the medicine to help. And then I had to be on an IV drip carrying this pole around with me in the mall, literally, and, so, one of my best friends says, I've got an oncologist friend who wants to meet you. And I said, well, what do you mean he wants to meet me? He said, he wants to touch you. And I thought, well, that's creepy. What do you mean he wants to touch me? He said, Rob, he told me that he has people come into his office with that Staph aureus blood infection. And in most cases, they're dead by that afternoon. You went 4 days and you lived with it. So I did meet with him and I told him my story. And he said, Rob, that's miraculous. He says, I've never met anybody that survived without medicine as you did with that Staph aureus blood infection that was basically eating your whole body. I went from 178 pounds to 138 in a matter of days. It was consuming my body. So I guess we're getting off on a tangent, but you said, am I religious or am I spiritual? I'm spiritual. I've had experiences that absolutely tell me 100% that we have a creator and there is a benevolent higher power that operates in every single one of our lives, whether we are the worst murderer or the best saint. Okay, we have that. And I experienced it firsthand, and that power saved my life and gave me a second chance to operate. And you gave me another mission. And this is the mission I'm on right now.
Well said, well expressed. I felt every passionate word that you said. I felt all of that, and I appreciate you and gratitude to you on that, Rob. And congratulations for pushing through all of that. Nikki, I want to ask you the same question. Are you religious or spiritual? What does that mean to you?
I'm spiritual, definitely. I was raised with religion. I've explored a lot of religions. I've read the good book of many religions just to see what there is. And there's always something good in all of those documents, right? But I am a psychic medium. And so when I connect with the spirit world, we're all just pieces of God here on earth. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. We're all sparks of the divine. And when I see religions operating, they seem to mess it up. And that's just my opinion. I know for some it gives them solace, and that's fine. If you feel good participating, then you should do that. It is right for you. But I see them acting more like institutions and organizations rather than anything that really touches the spiritual nature of what we are. And like Rob, I had some significant medical diagnoses that should have taken me out. And I'm still here. And I'm here because of miracles that happened in my life. And the same thing. Getting in touch with that divine part of yourself, remembering that divine spark it's what keeps me going from day to day. And I think that the things that Rob does and others like him do are part of that experience of getting back to yourself, getting back to your spiritual self, just discovering who you really are, which is divine.
I Love all of that. So I do respect both of you guys' time. So we're gonna go ahead and get to the ending of this show, where I'm gonna ask you guys a couple of questions, and then we'll go from there. So let's get to it. Rob, I'll ask you first, and then Nikki, same question, and back and forth. So Rob, beyond all the knowledge and experiences that you've gained thus far, what still leaves you in awe or makes you question everything?
What makes me question everything?
Yeah, what still leaves you, everything that you know, what still leaves you in awe and still makes you question everything?
Well, I guess it really is that little boy curiosity. You know, I'm curious. And even as a little boy, I was always curious of how things worked. And, you know, one of the books my dad bought me was one called How Things Work. And, you know, it's all about machines. It's all about, you know, all the things out there in the world and what makes them tick. You know, but it really is that little boy curiosity that's still inside me and still operates to this day.
Nikki?
Everything leaves me. Honestly, I just find magic in so many things. You know, I try and wake up every day and just see the magic that's all around us all the time. Even just taking another breath every morning is magical, you know, just everything. I know that's kind of a non-answer, but it's
an answer. It's your answer. So I love it. Rob, what is the ultimate purpose of life?
The ultimate purpose of life,
in your opinion, right?
Yeah, I would say it really is giving of yourself and helping those around you, especially those in need who truly don't know how to help themselves, and even people who do want to help themselves, but they need guidance. You know, so, you know, I found that especially through going through cancer, people who are just going down that road and they reach out to me, and, you know, I do help them with medicines that they can get, but it's probably more the spiritual side too. You know, just being an ear to listen to them and letting them know that they don't have to go through this alone. You know, but the purpose, I really believe, and I can only speak for myself, but our true purpose in life is to help your fellow man. It really is. And whatever that means to you. You know, like I taught the boys, you know, see somebody in the ditch. Okay, stop and see if you can help them. I remember there was we went for a ride out in the country. Actually, you know, I love weather. I used to be a hot air balloon pilot for hobby. And so I'm so interested in weather. And when there's a storm front going by, you know, my boys and I would get in the car and we would chase this storm front. You know, you'd see these very low clouds and we would follow them. That was fascinating for me, as long as you don't get caught in a tornado. While we were out the one day, there was a bicyclist who he had gotten a flat tire and he was on the side of the road in this storm and there was lightning all around us. And I thought, oh my God, this guy is going to get struck by lightning. You know, first of all, he had his bike propped up against a wire fence. You know, he's going to get struck by lightning. The lightning flashes were so strong and all around us. And I just pulled over. I says, throw your bike in the back of the car and get in. He says, but I'm all wet and my bike's all muddy. I said, just get in the friggin' car right now, like I had an SUV. He got in. I started talking to him. I said, where do you live? He says, I live in London, in Ontario. And I said, well, I'm going to take you home. He says, but I'm like 15 miles away. I said, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to take you home. You know, that's how I operate. And that was an example to my boys, like you help out your fellow man. And then, you know, when I dropped him off, he says, but I've gotten your car all muddy. And I said, I don't care. I said, you're alive. There was a very good chance you would have been struck by lightning and you're in the middle of nowhere out in the country. So he says, well, I would like to keep in touch with you. I said, what's your email? I gave him my email. And he said, well, can I give you some money for the gas? I said, no, I don't want that. And, you know, now, you know, a week later, a certificate came, you know, by email or whatever, you know, for $100 so that I could take the boys and I out for dinner, my boys and I out for dinner. And I did. And I appreciate that. I wasn't looking for that. I mean, it was nice and it was a thank you. And maybe he felt obligated. But for me, it's more like, you know, pass that on to the next person. Like if you appreciated what I did for you, and to me, that was just out of my heart. When you see somebody in trouble, pass it on. Do the same thing. To me, that's my real purpose in life, is helping those. And, you know, through the Mindsight and, you know, helping blind people and eventually deaf, it's the same thing, you know, and just pass it on.
I love that. Nikki?
to explore, to experience, and to love. And I think it means, to explore everything, to experience everything you can, and to love everyone, even when they don't love you back.
Yeah, that's hard to do in this human mindset, right? I always think that I always try to live my life knowing that I have two minds, my physical mind and my conscious mind or my spiritual mind, and just like when you're in a maze, you can't see, how to get out and things like that. But when you change your perspective, when you go higher, you can see, oh, there's the exit, right? So sometimes when I'm having a physical day and I take a moment and I meditate and I breathe and I change my perspective, I go higher to my higher self. And then it's interesting how you get different results, right? So interesting. Rob, what is your definition of God?
My definition of God has changed. When I was a little boy, of course, like every other little boy and girl, I saw it as this man, with a gray beard, and who could be very mean to you also. That if you didn't behave and you didn't do the right things, could be very mean to you. And going through the 3 years of saving my life in cancer, I have a very different view of God. And it's more at this higher power, it's this benevolent, all-seeing, all-knowing higher power that everybody has access to equally if they will just quiet their mind down. Okay, it's kind of like Mindsight, getting into Mindsight. You've got to shut that left brain off. You've got to quiet yourself down. Get out of the, what is it that somebody said that, it's like the universe or God is like this lake that is completely still. And if that lake will become completely calm, one of our lakes that we have in Northern Ontario, these mornings where it's completely still and it reflects the stars, it reflects the universe. And for me, God is like that. It's like that, this all-knowing, this all-benevolent force that operates in every single one of us. And I have one example to share. We have to wrap this up. But when I went through cancer, I shared the room with 3 other guys that were sick. And now this was just in our hospital here in London when I had that Staph aureus blood infection. And I was, you hear everything that goes on in the room. And, the guy had his curtain around and he didn't have any friends. This guy was a very powerful businessman who had all the money in the world, but he had something that was going to take his life. And I guess I got to be careful. I'm going to get emotional here if I'm not careful, but I heard him get down on his knees and say his prayers. He was a non-religious person, did not believe in God, but he was about to die. And, he, in those moments, he asked for help and he asked, for whatever God was to help him out. So, my view of what God is an all-knowing, all-benevolent force that is there when people truly ask from their hearts. And I did, and I was almost dead, and I asked, and I had a miracle. In another podcast, we can talk about that if you like, but not in this time because it, will take a little while to tell. But I asked for, and I received a miracle, and I had my life saved right in those moments. So it is real. It is there, but many people will not experience it unless they can just get very quiet and very still. And a lot of times when you are in a real need, in my case, it was my life, and then they will connect to it. And in some ways, it's kind of like connecting to your Mindsight. You've got to get still. You've got to get relaxed and so on. But it is there. It is real. And it did save my life.
100% total agreement with Rob. I couldn't say it any better. I would just like to underscore that I believe that higher power is always benevolent. Always benevolent, never petty, never looking for the things that you're doing wrong, never punishing you for, maybe having a bad day. We all do that, right? And we all do things that we're not proud of sometimes, or you're in a bad mood and you say something to someone and feel bad about it. And God's not going to punish you for that. That higher power is actually higher than that. Higher, it rises above the pettiness of humanity. And I feel like a lot of religions, if you look at their description of God, it sounds like a very petty individual. And I cannot believe that anything labeled God would be petty.
I totally resonate with what you both said. And this is why I don't follow any organized religion, because that's what it is. And there's nothing that needs to be between me and connecting to source or the creator. Like, yeah, you guys can keep that. So, Rob, what is love?
Yeah, I felt it in those moments when I was literally minutes from dying. And I reached out and I made a phone call to my office, to my close assistant and other folks there at my office. The office hadn't opened yet, and I left a message, and I didn't want to call my family. My emotional level, my energy level was so low. It's like, you leave your lights on, you go into the mall, you come back, the lights are just this orange color, and you go to start your car and you've got to get battery cables and jump the battery. That was where my energy level was. It was almost zero. It was as close to zero as you could get without being dead. And I reached out, and because I knew my assistant had me on a prayer list with her sister, and I just asked her, can you ask your sister to step up the prayers? I got her answering machine. I got her voicemail. But I reached out, I got on my knees and I reached out and I did call her. That was the idea that flashed in my head. And she, without saying anything, her and Ruth and Kathy got in the car and came to the hospital. 15 minutes later, they came at the door to the room. They said, Rob, I know you're weak. You don't have to speak. Like I said, I didn't want to tell anybody in my family because I knew that I would not be able to emotionally handle the response that I would get. That I'm dying, I'm going to die, I'll be dead in a few minutes. I just knew I couldn't handle that. Okay, so I could handle my assistant. So they showed up at the room. They said, Rob, they smiled. They said, we're just, don't speak. They came over. They both put their arms around me and I could feel electricity coming into my body. It was like, that was the power of love. Okay, that was human love. And at that level, I felt it all. And it was like they took those battery cables and put on me, and I could feel the energy come up like this. I hadn't eaten for 5 days. I wasn't hungry. If I ate, I would, be sick. They were just there for 2 minutes. They put their arms around me. I felt this flow of energy, and that was love. It was the actual energy of love. It flowed into my body. They said, we're going to leave now. And I was just stunned. I just sat there. I couldn't believe what just happened. It was like they totally recharged me. And all of a sudden, this hunger came over me like I had never felt in my life. And I looked around the room and to see what was left over from breakfast, because this was literally like 9:15. And I asked the guys, I said, do you mind if I take your food? And they said, by all means, take it. And, there was toast, there was some cereal, there was some muffin, and I just took it all, ate it all. Just then, the nurse came in with the cards to order for lunch, and please, fill out your cards. And it said on there, please do not order more than one meal. I wrote on the card, I'm desperately trying to gain weight. I asked for 2 meals, and I filled out every possible thing you could buy, or not buy, but order. And the other 3 guys, I said, could you guys do the same thing? Like, not order 2 meals, but just check off every possible selection that they'll give you. They came in and they brought 2 trays for me. I ate both 2 meals. I ate all the extra stuff those guys ordered, and I felt like I had been totally healed. Like my energy level was through the roof. Just, earlier I was minutes from death to having this incredible energy and this hunger, and I just ate, which I continued to do right through the hospital stay. It was that night that they finally came in at 1:00 in the morning with their team and said, we finally figured out which particular bacteria you have, and we have the antibacterial for you, the drip. And they got me set up on that, but I was already healed. I went through that, so the power of love, that's what it was right there. I felt it. I felt it coming from these 2 ladies. It came right into me. And it literally healed me. And that's why,
you got that.
And this oncologist friend that I had, that I met, he said, the story is just impossible. Well, but it was a miracle that I have had happen. And it was, directly coming from, as you say, source, from benevolent higher power. I felt it come right into my body, and I was healed right in that spot, right in that moment, right there.
Congratulations on the fact that you can say you've had that experience. This is something that we all are taught how to love, what love feels like through the body. But what is love? That's something that we're all like reaching for, right? Nikki, what is love?
Well, kind of an echo of what Rob said. It's the food that feeds our souls. Like, it is what we need, we require to survive this experience. And, being in the energy healing community, like, I know when I put my hands on people with the intention, with love behind it, it is powerful. And people will say to me, people who are new to it will be like, I felt that. I mean, it is a tangible frequency that changes your cellular makeup like it did for Rob. It literally changes you at a cellular level when you experience it.
For that. And Rob, if you could talk to little Rob, what would you tell him?
Gosh,
Take a moment for that one, because that's it's an important question.
I would tell him that, well, little Rob from when he was 4 years old, like at that time, or little Rob now?
Pick a time frame in your childhood that you would want to go to if you had that choice, and what would you tell him?
Yeah, I would tell him that no matter what happens in your life, just keep going, believe in a higher power. That higher power is with you, and no matter what, even in the face of death, just keep going, because there are great things that are going to happen in your life.
Nikki?
I would say you are worthy and you can do it. There's been a lot of self-doubt for me. So, and again, Rob is instrumental in kind of erasing some of that for me at this late stage, but who cares? Yeah, that's what I would say.
I love it. One more question. Rob, tell again those that don't know you already, where can they find you, and anything else that you'd like to add regarding your seminars and what's coming?
Sure. We've still got a few spots in the May 4th to 9th seminar. And even in the 2 days before the seminar, there's a 8-hour telekinesis course being offered by Alex. And that's an optional thing. It's an optional cost as well. And it's 8 hours from the Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. And this Saturday night, Alex is also putting on a 4-hour prep. Now, this is included with the Mindsight. That's for free. And then we start the actual course 10 a.m. on the Sunday, and it goes through till 5 p.m. on the Friday, and people stay over and leave on the Saturday. That can be found at www.visionwithouteyes.com, or I guess these days we don't say the www anymore, but it's visionwithouteyes.com. And, scroll down to near the bottom to the tabs that open. That shows you how to sign up for the Mindsight class. Also, there's YouTube channel, Vision Without Eyes YouTube channel. There's over 500 videos, lots of videos right from the Orlando seminar, that have, Nikki herself in them. And also there's a Facebook page, Vision Without Eyes, and we have, there's a few thousand people on there. And, for people that don't want to come to seminar, they could just ask to get an online partner, and they can practice together, on Skype together. But I will say, we did that for years, and what you can do in the actual seminar workshop, like it takes months, even years to obtain this seeing the room Mindsight online or with a practice partner. Typically, you can do that within the 6 days when you come to an in-person group seminar. That just the energy, it exponentially happens so much faster. Cesar. So visionwithouteyes.com is the website. There's the YouTube channel, same name. There's the Facebook page, same name. But come to a seminar. If you can't come to that one, there's going to be one in August at Mount Shasta, California, where we bring in my other interest, and we're going to be doing Mindsight during the day. And then in the evening, we're going to be out there skywatch, and I've got all this equipment, infrared, full spectrum, zoom, time lapse, We've had experiences. Can't guarantee people will have an experience with ETs, but I've had lots, and quite often we do. There's another seminar coming up in November that will be back in Orlando again. And when people come to a seminar, once they're alumni, they can come back to any other seminar for free. Okay, so of that level. So if they didn't quite get it, we had people in the Orlando seminar that were coming from a previous seminar, and they're full-blown Seeing the Room Mindsight opened in Orlando. So, once you've come to a seminar, you can come to as many other ones as you want. You just have to pay your accommodation, food, transportation, airfare, and seminar materials, but the actual seminar is free. So that way people can just totally relax. Like, don't feel I must do this. I must open my mindsight in this seminar. It's got to happen. Just drop it all. Drop that pressure and that intenseness and just come and have fun. And if it's meant for you to open in this particular seminar, it will. If you need to come back and it opens up in the next one, like Neil and Bob, then so be it as well. I'm trying to take the pressure off everybody. Just come and have fun.
And Nikki, where can they find you?
I do have a website. It's Your Lucky Bee.
Okay, fair enough. I think people are going to take away so much from this. Those of you that are watching and listening, if you're finding about this Mindsight and mind hearing for the first time, you're welcome. All right. Because this is an amazing conversation to have. Some of you, like Rob said earlier in the episode, some of you probably already been doing it, but there's actually a place that you can refine, this ability through these seminars. Or if you don't have the ability to get to these seminars, just find your friend, your like-minded friend who's interested in this. Put a blindfold on and start holding up cards and just start asking questions. What do you see? But it's like Rob's, one of the biggest takeaway from this conversation is just have fun. Laugh. Maybe go for an hour before you even start. Go play. Go do something. Go just have a good time. Watch a comedy show, whatever. And then afterwards, come back and you'll already be in that mindset. I'm not the teacher about this, but this is my takeaway from what I get from Rob and Nikki. And it just, the formula is there. It's there. It's up to you to just apply it. That's it, right? Rob, let me also give you and Nikki, but Rob first, go ahead and just give one last thing to the people that you want to just give them some final words before we close out the episode. And then I'll also give the same opportunity for Nikki, please.
Gosh, final word. Well, don't take life seriously. As they say, none of us are getting out of here alive anyway. So honestly, we have the left and right brain, and most of us are in our left brain, which is so serious, fighting, intellectual, reasoning, logical, controlling, all those things. At the very least, you want to be balanced. So spend some time in your right brain, be with that little child you still have, go and have fun and try to get yourself just in the middle, balanced, and your life will be so much easier. You will have access to all these intuitive, informational things that can help you big time in your life, and you don't have to rely on that super difficult intellectual thinking all the time. Just allow yourself to be right in the middle between your left and right brain, and you will have so much easier time at life and a much more fun time as well.
Nikki.
Everything he said is correct. And the best way to get started with that is to go to one of those seminars, because I am telling you, nothing has changed my life like attending that seminar has on so many different levels, And if anyone is even it can help you with confidence, even if you took out all of the other gifts that come along with it. Just knowing that you can do this incredible thing, that you were born with the capability of doing this incredible thing, that is a gift right there that, it'll take you through the rest of your days. It's huge.
Thank you both. I had a great time with both of you on this episode. A lot of good conversation, a lot of good experiences and sharing of your stories. And I'm sure there's a lot to cover in 1,000 episodes that we'll never get to here. But again, this episode was very special to me and also a lot of folks that are going to get to hear this. Folks, I will go ahead and make sure that I have their contact links in the description. So just scroll down and you guys can just click away for your convenience. Again, if you're listening to me on Spotify, on Apple, Spreaker, any of those audio platforms, hit me with those five stars because it helps the algorithm. Share this conversation, not only here at CONUS, but also overseas as well, because sometimes people, they don't want to be they like the conversation, but they don't want to be in the conversation. So they like to kind of hear it on a podcast. So help this conversation reach to them so it'll benefit them in some kind of way. And if you're listening to me or if you're watching me, on YouTube or Rumble, like and subscribe, right? Put a comment down below. If you enjoyed anything, any takeaways from this conversation, let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what you liked. If you have any questions, whatever, that's what the conversation is all about. Let's just have the conversation. Let's just talk about it. That's how we get things going. And as always, folks, remember, I love you. I hear you. I see you. I am you. Continue to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain and take a deeper look. Push forward, always reaching beyond the frequency.